I built the cabin because I wanted silence. Not the empty kind that presses on your ears, but the living silence of wind through pine needles, of distant animal calls echoing across snow-covered ridges. After 12 years in the Colonial Survey Corps, cataloging dead rocks and arguing with bureaucrats over fuel allocations, I was done with people. I took my severance, bought a forgotten plot of land on the frontier moon of Kestrel, 9, and built a cabin by hand. No cities, no orbital traffic, no neighbors for 200 kilometers. Just me, the forest, and the sky. Kestrel, 9 was technically habitable, thin atmosphere, breathable with minimal filtration, long winters, violent storms. The kind of place no one visited unless they had a reason. That was the point. I hunted native grazer beasts, fished the ice rivers, and spent my evenings by the hearth reading battered paper books I'd hauled halfway across human space. The storm warning started 3 days before it hit. My weather station chimed with escalating alerts: pressure collapse, ionized upper winds, electrical density far beyond normal. I'd seen storms on Kestrel, 9 before, but this one was different. The sky took on a bruised, greenish hue, and the forest went unnaturally still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. I secured the cabin, reinforced the shutters, and stocked the generator with enough fuel to last a month. Then I waited. The storm arrived at dusk. Wind screamed down from the mountains with enough force to rattle the foundations. Snow turned to airborne knives, flaying bark from trees. Thunder rolled constantly, not in distant booms, but in overlapping, ground-shaking detonations. Lightning arced sideways through the forest, striking the same points again and again, as if searching for something. I was pouring myself a mug of reconstituted coffee when the proximity alarm went off. That alone nearly stopped my heart. No one came out here. The sensor displayed 3 4 biological signatures moving fast through the storm, converging on my location. Their heat profiles were wrong for humans. Higher core temperatures, broader silhouettes, elongated limbs. Aliens. I swore under my breath and reached for the old pulse rifle mounted above the fireplace. Not because I wanted to fight, but because the frontier taught you one thing quickly: surprises get you killed. A heavy impact slammed into the cabin door. Then another. A voice followed, filtered, distorted by the wind and some kind of translator, but unmistakably female. Shelter. We request shelter. The third impact cracked the outer plasteel layer of the door. I had exactly 2 options: let them in, or let the storm kill them on my doorstep. I disengaged the lock. The door burst open, and the storm tried to follow them inside. 4 figures stumbled through the threshold, tall and broad-shouldered, clad in segmented armor etched with glowing runes. Their helmets were swept back, open to the air, revealing faces that were unmistakably alien and unmistakably dangerous. They were easily a head taller than me, with slate-colored skin marked by pale stripes, luminous amber eyes, and long, braided crests of hair bound with metal rings. Their builds were powerful, predatory, every movement controlled and deliberate even as exhaustion weighed on them. Huntresses. I recognized them instantly. The Valari. Every human learned about them in xenohistory classes. Apex predators from a high-gravity world, matriarchal warrior culture, renowned trackers, and shock troops. They valued strength, endurance, and something their translators usually rendered as claim, a concept that had caused more than a few interspecies incidents. The lead huntress straightened, towering over me, water steaming off her armor as the cabin's warmth fought the cold. "You are human," she said, eyes narrowing. "This structure is yours?" "It is," I replied carefully, lowering the rifle, but not setting it aside. "You're welcome to wait out the storm, but I don't want trouble." Her lips, fuller than human, edged with subtle fangs, curved in what might have been a smile. "We do not bring trouble," she said. "The storm hunts us all." Another bolt of lightning struck close enough to shake dust from the rafters. The generator hummed steadily, lights flickering but holding. One by one, they removed their helmets. They were scarred, not disfigured, but marked. Thin white lines across arms and faces, ritual notches along their crests. These were not civilians or diplomats. They were elite. I gestured toward the fire. "Warm yourselves. You look like you need it." They did not relax immediately. Instead, they fanned out, assessing the cabin with practiced efficiency, checking corners, scanning walls, sniffing the air. One paused near the weapons rack, nostrils flaring. "Hunter's den," she murmured approvingly. "I hunt to eat," I said. "Nothing else." The lead huntress finally nodded. "I am Caressa, claw leader of the Stormbound Pack. These are my sisters." She placed a clawed hand over her chest in a formal gesture. I returned it with a nod of my own. "Ethan Cole." Just Ethan. Caressa studied me with unsettling intensity. "You live alone in this territory." "Yes." "Why?" I shrugged. "Peace." That earned a low, rumbling sound from her throat. Not quite laughter, but close. "Peace does not live here," she said. They shed their armor in layers, revealing dense musculature and insulated underskins patterned like stone and snow. Steam rose as their body heat met the cabin air. I busied myself with preparing food, dried meat stew, flatbread, whatever I had that could feed 4 hungry warriors. They ate with disciplined efficiency, but I noticed how often their eyes returned to me. Not hostile, evaluating. The storm raged on, hours stretching into night. The wind howled like a living thing, battering the cabin again and again. At one point, the entire structure groaned as a tree fell nearby. "You would not survive this storm without shelter," one of the huntresses said matter-of-factly. "I know. You built this alone?" "Yes." She nodded slowly. "Strong." I felt a prickle of unease. Compliments from Valari huntresses were rarely casual. As the night wore on, the atmosphere shifted. The huntresses spoke quietly among themselves in their native tongue, a series of low clicks and resonant growls that vibrated in my chest. Their glances grew more frequent, more intense. Finally, Caressa stood. "The storm will last until dawn," she said. "We will not leave before then." "That's fine," I replied. "You're safe here." Her eyes gleamed. "Yes, we are." She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from her skin. "You showed strength," she continued. "You did not turn us away. You did not cower. You shared your food and fire." I did what any decent person would. "Decency is not the measure we use," she said softly. The other huntresses rose, forming a loose circle around us. My pulse quickened. "Then what measure do you use?" "Worth." The word hung heavy in the air. Caressa extended a clawed finger, stopping just short of my chest. "On our world, when a lone hunter survives where none should, when he claims territory and endures storms that kill the weak, he draws the attention of the huntresses." I swallowed. Attention doesn't have to mean trouble. She smiled again, this time unmistakably predatory. "No," she agreed. "It means opportunity." The generator flickered, then steadied. Outside, thunder roared like an answering beast. "Our kind does not take lightly the act of claiming," Caressa said. "It is not ownership. It is recognition, protection, bond." I raised my hands slightly. "I think there may be a cultural misunderstanding here." "There is not," she said. She leaned closer, eyes never leaving mine. You are alone. We are not. Yet you endure. One of the huntresses reached out, touching the thick wooden beam beside me, then the rifle on the wall. Hunter, she murmured. Builder. Another inhaled deeply near my shoulder. Fear, but not weakness. Caresses straightened and spoke with formal authority. Ethan Cole of Earth. By the laws of the Valari, you have been tested by storm and solitude. You have shown strength of body and spirit. She placed her fist to her chest again. We claim you. Silence filled the cabin, broken only by the storm. I'm claimed? I asked carefully. Yes, she said. As a bonded ally. One under the protection of the storm-bound pack. That was not what I expected. You're not taking me anywhere, I said. Caresses' expression softened. Just a fraction. No. Claiming does not steal a hunter from his ground. It marks him as one who is not prey. She gestured toward the door, toward the raging world beyond. Any Valari who crosses your territory now will know you stand with us. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. And what do you want in return? I asked. Her smile returned, fierce and proud. Nothing you cannot give freely, she said. Respect. Honesty. And when the call comes, aid. The other huntresses nodded as one. I considered my options. Refusing might insult them. Insulting them would be unhealthy. All right, I said slowly. I can live with that. Caresses' eyes flared brighter. She stepped forward and pressed her forehead gently against mine, a surprisingly intimate gesture. It is done, she said. When dawn finally came, the storm broke as suddenly as it had begun. The forest lay buried beneath fresh snow, scarred but alive. The huntresses donned their armor, movements fluid and purposeful. Caressa lingered at the door. You will not be alone anymore, Ethan, she said. Even when we are far, our mark remains. She tapped a small device against my forearm. It warmed briefly, leaving behind a faint, glowing sigil that faded into my skin. Call and we will hear. Then they were gone, vanishing into the white as if the storm had birthed them. I stood in the doorway long after, staring at the quiet forest. I had built my cabin to escape the universe. Instead, the universe had found me and decided I was worth claiming. And for the first time in years, I realized something surprising. I wasn't sure I wanted to be alone anymore. The days after the storm passed were quieter than any I could remember. The forest healed itself with patient efficiency. Snow softened broken branches. Tracks vanished beneath fresh drifts. If not for the faint sigil resting beneath my skin, I might have convinced myself the huntresses had been nothing more than exhaustion and isolation playing tricks on my mind. But the world had changed. I felt it the first time I left the cabin unarmed. Before, every sound in the trees had carried tension, an instinctive readiness for danger. Now there was something else layered beneath it. Awareness. As if the land itself recognized me. 3 weeks later, I found proof. I was checking my trap line when I came across a kill I hadn't made. A massive ridgestalker lay dead in the clearing, throat crushed with surgical precision. Valari work. Clean. Respectful. Beside it, placed deliberately atop the snow, was a bundle of cured meat and a strip of etched metal bearing the stormbound pack's mark. A gift. A promise kept. That night, as I sat by the fire, the cabin no longer felt like a barricade against the universe. It felt like a hearth, a place within something larger. I realized then that claiming wasn't about possession. It was about acknowledgement, about saying you are seen and you matter. Months passed. The frontier changed too. Word spread, quietly, carefully. Traders altered their routes. Raiders vanished. Once, a patrol drone from the colonial authorities circled my land, scanned the sigil embedded in my biosignature, and left without a word. No questions. No demands. They knew. Sometimes, when the wind howled just right through the pines, I swore I could hear distant voices, low, powerful, familiar, not calling for help, calling to check in. I still lived alone. I still chopped my own wood, hunted my own food, watched storms roll in from the mountains. But I was no longer solitary. And when the next great storm came, greater than the last, violent enough to darken the sky for days, I didn't wait in fear. I opened my door, stoked the fire, and set out extra cups. Because somewhere out there, huntresses ran beneath the lightning. And they would know exactly where to find me.